Stephen Hawking found something wrong with black holes in the 1970s. They could shrink or even evaporate. If a black hole vanished, it would mean that everything it had sucked in disappeared as well. In physics, things aren't meant to vanish suddenly. They can change shape, but their constituent, subatomic information, must remain in the cosmos. This myth is known as the black hole information paradox. Be sure to stick around to find out how this would change the course of life as we know it. Scientists have become perplexed by various sophisticated studies. Still, the paradoxes has kept them up all night trying to determine the real meaning of what nature has presented itself to be. Even though these scientists are highly talented in their fields, there are inherent paradoxes that they have yet to overcome. Despite having God-given wisdom, people become creative to find out solutions that will improve the world. Of course, there are many levels of intelligent people. We have people who engage in physical practice to perfect their varied skill. But once again, some are endowed with great intellect, and if you look at their life success or production levels, it appears as they float in a pool of creativity. These guys form the most powerful scientists in the world. Take for instance Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb we all use today. He applied different scientific methods to create the light bulb about 100 times before he finally cracked the code and discovered what will work. And today, we can call him one of the scientists born to transform the world, and of course, an innovator like Elon Musk. To some extent, many are bored of life. Some hope they will never get old, others wish they could sometimes live their past life, like a 5-year-old kid whose only activity is to wake up in the morning, clean his teeth, bathe, and walk directly towards the dining table to have breakfast. After that, he'll spend the rest of the day having fun and being happy. As a child, there are no wars, no competitors, no business to create, and no employees to pay at the end of each month. Life at that age is so lovely, full of favors and free of stress. But as we grow up to be adults, everything changes. We begin to confront life's challenges, making money becomes increasingly important, and raising a family becomes one of the many concerns that we face daily. We might grow frustrated, exhausted, and even depressed sometimes, especially when things don't go as planned. Then we wish we could turn back the clock to our childhood days. What I just explained is the paradox of time for humans, and even now, some of us wish to revisit our childhood fantasies. This time paradox would have been addressed if scientists had discovered a way to change the hands of time. That is, for a few hours, an older person may choose to live in the past as a child, and the next minute live in the future as a normal age person he is. Of course, the world would be interested in a concept like that. Now imagine that people would want to travel to the past and live with their lovely parents or loved ones and fulfill a sweet memory they fantasize. But is it possible? No way, it's not even feasible to live in the past, which is a big problem that scientists are still grappling with to this day. Another paradox we will look into is the theory of the black hole. As we said, Stephen Hawking found something wrong with black holes in the 1970s. They could shrink or even evaporate. If a black hole vanished, it would mean that everything it had sucked in disappeared as well. And in physics, things aren't meant to vanish suddenly. They can change shape, but their constituent subatomic information must remain in the cosmos. If you're a science student, you could have come across a scientific statement like, energy cannot be created nor be destroyed, but changes from one form to another. Scientists call this the law of conservation of energy. In other words, black holes are capable of erasing information about subatomic particles that should not be able to be destroyed just by their presence. The myth, known as a black hole information paradox, has bedeviled physicists for decades. However, theoretical physicist Samir Mathur has provided a solution. Sees black holes as fuzzballs rather than black holes. According to Mathur, an Ohio State University professor who specializes in black hole physics, quantum mechanics is broken when you have a black hole. Based on the classic conception passed down by Einstein and others, when you have a circumstance like that, you don't have a physics theory. He claims that it is the responsibility of physicists to reconcile general relativity, which describes the behavior of large objects, with quantum mechanics, which explains the behavior of tiny things. Mathur believes that the fuzzball hypothesis has the potential to achieve precisely that. The structure and behavior of black holes themselves determine the structure and behavior of the information puzzle and the fuzzballs that could resolve it. The attracting force of gravity is responsible for the creation of black holes. If there is a lot of mass there, everything in that mass attracts everything else, Mathur adds. If it's a star, each point attracts every other point in that star. As a result, it seeks to contract. This shrinkage culminates in a super dense area of space-time known as a black hole, which consumes anything that comes into contact, even light. but according to Leah Medeiros, a National Science Foundation postdoctoral scholar at the Institute for Advanced Study, the dread of being pulled into a black hole shouldn't keep you up at night. You have to go pretty near for that to happen. A black hole seems to be any other object with a lot of gravity, such as a star from afar. However, if you go too near to a black hole, you'll hit the event horizon, which is the distance from the black hole that even if you're traveling at the speed of light, you still can't escape it, according to Medeiros. That could be a friend of the Bermuda Triangle. And beyond that event horizon, there's a lot of space, with all the stuff that the black hole has absorbed crammed into one little spot in the center. That point of compression is referred to as singularity. According to Fabio Pascucci, an astronomer at Harvard University, the standard idea of a black hole has two flaws. One is that the concept of a singularity, a point of infinite density and infinite gravity, clashes with the natural universe. Pascucci recalls a high school physics instructor telling him, "If you find an infinite, this is mathematics, not physics. Nature," he claims, "does not work in infinitesimals. You will never discover an indefinitely tall tree or an infinitely enormous planet." While black holes may be the only entity in nature with lasting qualities, it's reasonable to cheat human intelligence to an extent. And as it turns out, so is some of the activity observed at the event horizon of a black hole. Stephen Hawking and colleagues demonstrated that black holes emit energy. That isn't a problem in and of itself, but it comes with a lot of mathematical baggage. The process known as Hawking radiation includes the appearance of a paired particle and antiparticle near the event horizon of a black hole. One of them, let's assume the particle, although it works both ways, make contact with the event horizon and then spin off into space, taking no information from the black hole with it. On the other hand, its antiparticle counterpart may be pulled into the black hole. Once within the black hole, that lone antiparticle may collide with a single particle, resulting in the two annihilating each other, in Pascucci's words. It appears to an outside viewer that the black hole is losing mass one particle at a time, Pascucci explains. The black hole would lose a small piece of information connected with that particle because the information is intended to be conserved. It's also worth mentioning that this scenario could only occur on a very tiny scale, since there aren't enough free-floating antiparticles to make it happen on a large scale. However, even minor data loss is a significant issue. Given enough time, this prolonged process may eventually result in the disappearance of an entire black hole. At its core, the information paradox occurs because black holes straddle two worlds. They can be huge. They should obey general relativity's constraints, yet they can also shrink to an infinitesimally small point, making them quantum territory. For decades, physicists have been attempting to reconcile their understanding of black holes with quantum physics. The fuzzball approach offered by theoretical physicist Mathur entails constructing a whole new image. Einstein and his colleagues discovered string theory, which states that everything in the cosmos is made up of microscopic vibrating strings. They created a mathematical model of a black hole composed of strings. We discovered that it did not appear like the typical image, Mathur explains. Instead of contracting to a point and leaving all the space around it, it fluffed up into the fuzzball. Mathur developed the fuzzball theory in 1997. Since then, he's worked to refine and advocate for the research. The event horizon and the singularity are not mentioned in the fuzzball hypothesis. Instead, it permits the black hole's ingested information to be dispersed around the area as a chaotic ball of strings. Do you think that this black hole ever exists? And where could it be? Maybe the James Webb Telescope could help probe this and alter Stephen Hawking's multiverse theory. Click on this video to know more.